in a democratic system, you will always have, in some sense, winners and losers because some people have to give a little more than others. But the idealist in me thinks that you can minimize that disappointment if to enough so that people aren't as susceptible to a demagogic leader. If you flatten out the benefits so that society is more or less working for everybody, if people are secure and economically, if people could access childcare, if people don't believe that their neighbor is getting more benefits than they are, you can hopefully minimize that disappointment. I don't think you can ever get rid of it. So I'm more on the reform side of institutions. I still hold on to the Madisonian belief that we can take this diverse country with all a multitude of factions, as he put it, and force them together in a governmental system that requires compromise and not all out winning. Part of the problem in that ideal view is the way that our government is structured. Is it has incentivized us to have a bipolar party system, which two-party systems can be fine. Most people are generally moderate, and politicians would end up having to move to the middle to get more votes, which brings about compromise. But for the last 50 years, and I think this partially has to do with disappointment, once our democracy started expanding to actually believing in equality for all people and not just white men, it brought a lot of resentment that social benefits were going to others. So you see in the late 60s and 70s this beginning of a trend towards polarization that has to do with resentment on one end, economic inequality that leaves a lot of people behind. As Oscar was talking about, the costs of doing politics in America requires politicians to get money. They get money from the more extreme voices. Institutional changes to how elections are run. All of these things have built up so that our institutions, instead of working as we could hope they would be, which is towards compromise and deliberation, have pulled apart and have become stuck. And at the same time, we have technological changes that are also driving people apart, which doubles down on that resentment and doubles down on that anger and what we call negative or affective polarization in this country. And a lot of the defendants we interviewed, a lot of the rioters I tracked, were very open about the fact that they saw Democrats, liberals, quote unquote, social elite as actual enemies of the country. It's hard to believe that reforming institutions can do anything about people who want to start a civil war. But I think you have to start there, and you have to have the institutions actually work and move forward to minimize that resentment you were talking about.